Well, good morning, everybody. I see it's 11 o'clock. So welcome to our second Careers Practitioners Seminar for the University of Melbourne. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which our campuses are situated, the Wurundjeri, Aboon Wurrung and Yorta Yorta Nation and the Yaya Wurrung people. We pay our respects to the elders, both past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Australians who've made a contribution to the university community. So we've got a packed program this morning. We've got 3 different disciplines talking about their courses. There will be an opportunity for you to ask questions at the end of each of the segments. So just put it in the Q&A box and our recruitment team who are working from home will try and answer them all. If we don't get to them during the seminar, we'll certainly get back to you in the next couple of days because we've got your email addresses. There's no need to take any notes unless you wish to, as we'll send you a link after this session. And we will be recording it. So the next slide, Kieran, thanks, shows you the next one after that, shows you some of the resources that we've got. So that's the program for today. And the next one, thank you, shows you some of the things that we talked about in the first seminar. So there's the publication order form this year, that all of our publications are online and they are interactive to some extent, so encourage you to download them. We've also got Careers Update. The last edition was a bumper edition with information about our new domestic guarantees. So we've introduced domestic guarantees for students for each of our main courses. There's also the opportunity to book a webinar visit to your school. Now, when you go into that section, it says it's only for regional and interstate students, schools. It's for anybody. So I encourage you, we're really keen to get into your school. We've had a lot more success of reaching out to regional schools through this platform. So it's fantastic for that. So please welcome us into your schools. We've also got some good news. Next one, thanks, Kieran, on our, oh yes, that's Barney with the virtual school presentation. So happy to chat individually or with a whole group. Next one, thanks, Kieran, is our principal scholarship. So this is unfortunately only for Victorian schools. Because of the unusual circumstances this year, we've been able to extend the deadline and schools have been notified about this till the 30th of November this year. So we really want you to nominate a student for this. All of the criteria are on the website. Students do get a $5,000 one-off payment, which I think is very helpful for many students starting particularly next year after such a difficult year. Open Day, next one, thanks, Kieran, has gone live today. For undergraduate, it's the Saturday and Sunday, the first week of September. And there will be graduate schools, of course, represented on that day. But we have a separate graduate open days for the following week. So there are 2 opportunities. We would encourage you to drive students to that Saturday, Sunday. It's a very packed program. Just speaking to Karina, who's going to speak to you in a minute. She's been videoing a lot of her presentations this morning. So moving on to our first session, which is the Bachelor of Biomedicine, I would really like to introduce Associate Professor Karina Waller. She has 3 different jobs at the university. She's a associate professor in microbiology and immunology, but she's also attached to the Melbourne Centre for the Study of Higher Education. She's Deputy Program Director for the Bachelor of Biomedicine, and with that hat, she's here today. So I will pass over to her Her area of teaching is microbiology and immunology to second and third year Bachelor of Science and Bachelor of Biomed students. So she's got a wealth of experience to share with you and has had a lot to do with, obviously, the curriculum in biomed. So I'll hand over to Karina. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Wendy. So as Wendy mentioned, my name's Karina Waller and I'm an Associate Professor in the Department of Microbiology and Immunology at the University of Melbourne within the School of Biomedical Sciences and the Custodial Faculty of Medicine, Dentistry and Health Sciences. But I'm physically based at the Doherty Institute, and the reason I mention that is because that will give me a nice segue into my next slide. I'm also, as Wendy mentioned, the Deputy Program Director for the Bachelor of Biomedicine. So I hope to provide you with a lot of really useful information today, but also engage with you over the coming years in my role and engagement with the Bachelor of Biomedicine. So next slide, please. So as I mentioned in my introduction, I'm physically based in the Doherty Institute, and perhaps many of you have heard in the recent media in relation to the COVID pandemic that's occurring globally around the world at the moment. The Doherty Institute is an institute for infection and immunity, and it's physically located within the Parkville precinct, the biomedical precinct, which is made up of the biomedical sciences buildings and in institutes as part of the university, but also the associated medical institutes such as the Walter and Eliza Hall and the Peter MacCallum Institute. So here you can see a cartoon representation of our building, which is located physically just adjacent to the main Parkville campus of the University of Melbourne. And the Doherty Institute is a joint venture between the University of Melbourne and the Royal Melbourne Hospital, and aims to combine research, teaching, public health and reference laboratory services with diagnostic services and clinical care in infectious diseases and immunity, to ultimately improve public health and global and safety globally. And so our namesake of our institute is Professor Peter Doherty, who won his Nobel Prize in 1996 for his groundbreaking internationally recognised research in immunology. And for Bachelor of Biomedicine students who choose to study at our university, and indeed in the disciplines of microbiology and immunology within the four walls of our institute, you're very likely to see Peter walking around and engaging, continuing to engage in his daily activities. But I mentioned the Doherty Institute first and foremost, that's where I'm based, but also in relation to the COVID pandemic. You've likely seen many of my colleagues who I work with in media interviews or providing information through to the Royal Commission that's happening at the moment in terms of the investigation, because many of the research groups and diagnostic services and reference laboratory services that are based within our institute are readily and heavily involved in COVID research, both in terms of trying to grow the virus, provide testing, develop drugs to potentially treat the virus, viral infection, and also to potentially develop a vaccine. So you've likely seen many of us already in media interviews. So in relation to my role within the Department of Microbiology at the University of Melbourne and being based in the Doherty Institute, as mentioned by Wendy in the introduction, I'm an associate professor in microbiology and immunology, and I'm a teaching focused academic. So the major part of my role is teaching microbiology and immunology to second and third year Bachelor of Science and Bachelor of Biomedicine students at the University of Melbourne. And I come to this role after 16 plus years in local, national and international research in malaria. So I have quite a history and trajectory through malaria research before migrating over into teaching. So that's a little perspective in terms of where we're physically based in the Department of Microbiology and Immunology, where I'm physically based and what discipline area my background draws on. So next slide, please. So to get us warmed up into the Bachelor of Biomedicine, I just wanted to give you a little information about the course and the types of features and strengths of the course, and why your students would want to study the Bachelor of Biomedicine with us. So the Bachelor of Biomedicine at the University of Melbourne offers a smaller cohort experience compared to some other biomedicine degrees around the nation. And that's a real strength of our course because it allows our students to build stronger relationships with their peers during their 3-year degree of their undergraduate program before they graduate and then go on to potentially careers in health and medicine professions, where they're very likely to be working with many of the same people that they've studied with. So they've had that real opportunity to develop some meaningful and lifelong relationships with their fellow students. The Bachelor of Biomedicine also offers the ideal pathway into a career in professional health care industry. So not only medicine, but many of the other discipline areas in health, including audiology, nursing, dentistry, optometry, physiotherapy, and alike. It really is the ideal preparation. And that comes largely through the bespoke nature of the core subjects that are embedded in first, second, and third year throughout the 3-year program. And in particular, these integrated second year subjects that you see represented in the balloon down the bottom of the slide. They really are fully integrated bespoke subjects in the biomedical sciences that serve to fulfill the entry requirements or the prerequisite requirements for many graduate health programs that your students might wish to complete after they've graduated from a Bachelor of Biomedicine. Within our Bachelor of Biomedicine, we now offer 15 major areas of study, and you can find out more information about those on the University of Melbourne website. But a great diversity of biomedical sciences that Bachelor of Biomedicine students can study. These majors are also available to Bachelor of Science students, but the advantage of doing them through the Bachelor of Biomedicine is really that bespoke experience that's concentrated on human health and human biomedical science. So that really is a major selling point of our degree. Another advantage of our degree is that we have proven graduate outcomes. I'm sure in previous presentations you've seen loads of data about where our graduates go, and typically about 1/3 of our graduates from this program go on to study medicine at our university. About another 1/3 go on to study other graduate programs at our university, including research and those other health programs I just mentioned, such as dentistry, optometry, and alike. And about 1/3 leave the university and go on to other career pathways or other studies. In alumni surveys that we've used to follow up with that leaving 1/3 of students, we found about 2/3 of those leaving 1/3 of students go on to study medicine at another institute. Segueing back to my second slide, we're located within one of the world's most highly concentrated precincts in biomedical research. So really, what a fantastic opportunity for students studying the Bachelor of Biomedicine at the University of Melbourne to be embedded and to be learning biomedical science from world-leading teaching academics, researchers who are conducting internationally recognised research and teaching activities. So really a fantastic location to be completing Bachelor of Biomedicine. Next slide, please. So I wanted to introduce you on this slide to some really exciting changes that we're introducing into the Bachelor of Biomedicine next year, or from next year, from 2021. So many of you will be familiar with the standard 3-year program across the Bachelor of Biomedicine, where throughout these sort of orange coloured subjects, we have a series of core subjects that students need to study to complete their Bachelor of Biomedicine. In green, we have a number of selective subjects that students can choose to or select from to suit their interests and their passions. And of course, as with all undergraduate programs at the University of Melbourne, students have the opportunity to study breadth, to perhaps engage in subjects and discipline areas that are aligned with their biomedical sciences, or to stretch them in other ways, perhaps into languages, music, what have you, computing science. But what I really want to draw your attention to are these 3 first-year subjects: biology, life's machinery, discovering biomedicine, and exploring biomedicine. These are 3 new subjects which are bespoke, created for next year's intake in the Bachelor of Biomedicine and subsequent years, that really will lay an enriched foundation in the biomedicine, biomedical sciences for students studying with us. In particular, I'm quite attached to Discovering Biomedicine. I'm going to be one of the subject coordinators, and this Discovering Biomedicine subject is a subject that all commencing Bachelor of Biomedicine students will complete in their first semester of study, and it's really designed to welcome, to orientate and to help navigate the students around their Bachelor of Biomedicine at the University of Melbourne through the lens of biomedical sciences, and introducing them into such topic areas as Indigenous ways of knowing, sustainability, respect, diversity and inclusion, academic scholarship, and many other units. In the second year, we have these larger integrated subjects that I mentioned to you fulfill the prerequisite requirements for postgraduate studies. And in third year, we have these further bespoke subjects that students can dive deeper into specific areas, into biomedical sciences, that really hope to bring together the depth and breadth of scope and study across their previous 3 years. As I mentioned also, we offer 15 majors within the Bachelor of Biomedicine, and they're represented by these blocks here, these subject blocks here, but I'm not going to speak any more about those. You can find out more information on the website about those. So next slide, please. So some other highlights that I'd like to draw your attention to relate to our third year study program. Those 2 core subjects that I mentioned to you, molecular melody and also frontiers in biomedicine, are purpose-built subjects that allow students to focus on the experiences and to integrate their knowledge that they've experienced across and accumulated across their prior 3 years of study in the Bachelor of Biomedicine, and allow them to dive deep into particular areas of perhaps infection and immunity, or in relation to other health issues such as obesity and metabolic syndrome. I know colleagues within my department actually teach into molecular melody, and they pivoted this subject really quickly earlier this year to include in one of the 6 melodies the COVID pandemic that's occurring throughout the world at the moment. Another subject that I'm personally quite attached to is the parasitology subject. This is my brand new baby. We're starting to teach it for this very first time this semester, and the students are thoroughly enjoying it and learning about all the intricacies and the fascinations of parasites and the infections that they can cause, not only in humans but also in animals and plants around the world. Next slide, please. So I'd now like to thank you for your time and attention, and I'm going to pass over to our student, Josh Seddon, who's a second year biomedicine student, who's going to talk to you from a student's perspective about the Bachelor of Biomedicine. So thanks, Josh.
Awesome, thanks, Karina. So hey everyone, I'm Josh, and I'm a second year Bachelor of Biomedicine student at the University of Melbourne. Currently, I'm studying human structure and function, aka HSF, pharmacology, and music and health as my breadth subjects, a little bit different. I'll just quickly give a brief kind of overview of my week before addressing kind of more common questions that come up regarding to the student experience. So every week for HSF, I have 6 lectures, a workshop, and a tutorial to kind of help facilitate our understanding of the lecture content. The reason this subject is so kind of dense is because it's a double credit subject, so worth twice as much as a regular one. I also have 3 lectures for pharm, a workshop and tutorial, and 1 lecture for my breadth subject. Although this only accounts for maybe 15 hours or so of content, I probably spend another 10 hours or so like actually trying to understand the content. And on that note, I probably wouldn't recommend biomed to people that lack a below average work ethic, because it become really, really stressful really quickly, which is not a good thing for someone's mental health. Additionally, there are practicals spaced out every few weeks, which offer a much more hands-on learning approach. So for example, some practicals I did in first year included heart and frog dissections and growing microbes in Petri dishes. So a common question that arises is, what are the benefits of biomed over other courses? And particularly science comes up in this conversation. For me personally, apart from like a much more specialized health focused course, the cohort experience, which Karina alluded to, has made my journey so much more enjoyable. Biomed is inherently a much smaller cohort, and the majority of people are doing very similar structure, similar subjects as you saw with the structure before. And therefore, people tend to form much tighter bonds with their peers. This is something absent in other larger courses, and to be fair, it was absolutely critical to me surviving my first year and a half. Like, the student experience and everything and the connections I've made with people have really just been phenomenal. Anyway, there's this conception of biomed as a kind of competitive course. And yeah, whilst this is true, people underestimate the camaraderie that forms between like-minded students undergoing what is a relatively difficult course, especially when they're all kind of focused on the same health-orientated things, and they all tend to be a bit more compassionate people. But building on from the sense of camaraderie in biomed, the Biomedicine Student Society exists as like a club that's run by students, which fosters a more inclusive, diverse and engaging environment for all students undertaking the Bachelor of Biomed. I personally am a committee member of the BSS, and we run health-oriented initiatives that contribute to society. So things like a biannual blood drive and more exciting events such as boat cruises and balls to help alleviate the stress of anyone studying the Bachelor of Biomedicine. So everyone studying, there might be this conception, everyone studying the biomedicine or Bachelor of Biomedicine is quite study orientated and everything. That may be true, but we still try to offer people like breaks from studying to make sure that their mental health manages throughout the whole 3-year course. On a slightly different note, after I finished my Bachelor of Biomedicine, I stereotypically, yes, I do want to move on to Melbourne Medicine. However, throughout my degree, I have experienced so many other areas of study and opportunities that really captivated me, which I definitely didn't expect going into my degree. These things include like neuroscience and experimental pathology, which really kind of captivated me. And going into biomed, I personally was of the camp that I wanted to do medicine and nothing else. But that's really, really changed as I've gone into the course, and I'm much more open to other health-oriented kind of fields. I still want to study health, but that's something that I've always kept with me throughout my secondary school and into tertiary education. But yeah, I still want to do health-oriented fields or get into health-oriented fields. Personally, if I didn't get into medicine at Melbourne, I'd probably pursue medicine at another university. But on the same note, I'm not as like driven by that anymore as I was going into the course. So I'm much more open to other kind of health-oriented fields, such as optometry or even research, honestly, going in and seeing what the researchers do. As a lot of the lecturers are researchers and they really share, give a really kind of deep exploration of their own work, which I honestly found so captivating. So moving on, the tight-knit nature of the biomed court, alongside the support it gets from the BSS, coupled with like the health-oriented nature of the course, really makes biomedicine a suitable course for many secondary students. I would personally recommend biomed to those that are committed to studying the health sciences, regardless of its medicine or not, as the Bachelor of Biomedicine is a much more streamlined, directed course than other courses. However, I would also argue that it's pretty integral the student has reasonable work ethic or organizational skills. Otherwise, they may struggle with the intense workload of the course. However, I can personally attest that if their goal is health science, they will adore this course, because I know I did. So yeah, anyway, thank you. That's all I want to say.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I'm back on the screen, is that right? Okay, we've got a couple of questions here. One about, can students begin with a biomed degree and still transition into physiotherapy postgrad at Melbourne? And are there still postgrad options with Commonwealth supported places? So not sure if you would like to answer that one, Karina. We certainly know the answer, but if you want to take that one?
Yes, absolutely. So students can move into any of those health-related disciplines that I mentioned, physiotherapy, dentistry, optometry, as long as they meet the appropriate academic requirements and meet the prerequisite subject requirements and any other entry requirements. Then yes, there's absolutely opportunities to transition into those further postgraduate health programs at the University of Melbourne. And in relation to CSP supported places, I might defer that part of the question to someone else. I don't want to misspeak.
Yeah, I'll answer that
Aileen,
one.
up to you,
Okay.
go.
Yeah, there are CSP places for our physiotherapy course.
Fantastic.
There's another question here that I think goes to a lot of our programs. There is a misperception perhaps that you have to do a postgrad course from any of our Melbourne undergrad courses. Karina, would you like to just talk about some of the graduate outcomes there are from, let's say, a straight biomed degree or biomed honours degree?
Yeah, sure. So students who complete Bachelor of Biomedicine at the university are well qualified to pursue opportunities for research, either through honours, an honours year, which is a 4th year research intensive year attached to their bachelor's degree, or through postgraduate masters or PhD. So there's certainly opportunities for students to continue studying in terms of research across all of the disciplines in biomedical sciences. But there's also extensive opportunity for students to take their postgraduate studies, if they wish, into health areas such as medicine, dentistry, optometry, and all those other wonderful ones that we just spoke about. And I saw in the chat there was a question about what other places can students go from a Bachelor of Biomedicine after 3rd year if they don't wish to pursue further study. I will say, as a little shout out to my own video for the open day, check out the microbiology, immunology, infection and immunity major, because there's a nice slide at the end of that presentation that I give that summarises not only the research pathways, the health postgraduate opportunities for further study, but also other career opportunities to move into public health, into biosafety and regulation, into biopharma and companies like CSL, to be a science teacher, to move into science communication, journalism, all of those types of things. Even to take your science knowledge, your biomedical science knowledges off into law or Masters of Business Administration. I could give you so many examples from personal colleagues who've taken their biomedical sciences into those areas. The options are really just limited by the student's imagination and their passion and willing to pursue those careers.
Fantastic. Look, given the time, there are a couple of other questions, but we will get back to you individually. So thank you very much for the questions that you have asked. So thanks again, Karina and Josh, for presenting today. And they will be, of course, around on open day. So I'm sure that you'll be very busy then, Karina. So I encourage you, if you want to pop in on either of those days, there are a lot of repeat sessions. So, and they will all be available for anybody that registers on open day. So thanks again, Karina. I'll let you.
Sorry to interrupt rudely, Wendy, there's a lot opportunity for live Q&A as well in the Bachelor of Biomedicine information sessions. Yeah.
Excellent. And great to hear about the research that you're doing with malaria too. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We'll get back to those questions, and I will move to our next section, which is the Faculty of Fine Arts and Music, or FAFAM, as we like to affectionately call it. I am sure that Cody Moore is no stranger to many of you. She is the Senior Marketing Coordinator Recruitment at FAFAM, and she's going to speak to us today and provide an update on fine arts and music. So over to you, Cody. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Hi, everybody. I wish I could see your faces. I do miss the interactive part of what it is that we do, but we have all pivoted this year to this new online delivery. So I'm going to tell you a little bit today about what the application process looks like for both of these degrees, the fine arts and the music, because I'm sure that's most critical to you and your students at the moment. But if we move to the next slide, the first couple of things I'm going to do, just a really quick recap on what it is that we deliver. I know that last year the Careers Practitioners Seminar was based at our Southbank campus, and it was so great to have you all there. But I'm sure that some of the people who are watching now were not able to attend that day. So just a really quick recap that within the Faculty of Fine Arts and Music, we do have the 2 degrees, the Bachelor of Fine Arts and the Bachelor of Music, and they're co-located on the Southbank campus, which is, as Karina was saying, with the health precinct up near Parkville. Down at Southbank, we are in the centre of Melbourne's art precinct. So when we are able to be there on campus, it's great for the students and the staff to have that close connection with the NGV for the visual arts students, or with the Malthouse Theatre for our performing arts students, or the Melbourne Recital Centre. So we look forward to getting back there as soon as we can. One of the great things about being on that campus, all those creative courses co-located, is the collaboration that does happen between the creative students who are in their small classes working on their practical projects. We'll move forwards just for a quick recap on the Bachelor of Music. So while we have 6 different streams that students can study in the Bachelor of Music, at first year they can enter into 3 of them. So our most popular is what we call PCME, or Performance, Composition, Musicology and Ethnomusicology. That's classical performance, and all students interested in the CME part of that would all enter in through the classical performance stream in first year, have 1 year of that dedicated performance learning before applying to move into one of those other streams from second year. So if you've got students who are interested in writing their own classical music in Western notated style, then they would enter through that performance stream. If you've got students who are interested in composing their own music that is more contemporary, electronic, video games for film and television, composing film scores, those kinds of things, then they would be looking at the interactive composition. So that's quite a common question. What's the difference between the composition and interactive composition? And then the third option that we have in the BMUS there is jazz and improvisation for our contemporary music players or performers. And we'll move on to the next slide. Just a quick recap on the Bachelor of Fine Arts. It is 1 degree by name, but it is actually 9 really distinct degrees by practice. So the students would, there are 9 different VTAC course codes for each of these different streams that the students can add to their VTAC preference list. I'll go through the different application processes as we move through the presentation, but the one thing to call out here is that our specialisation in production has changed its name to production for the 2021 intake. It was previously known as design and production, but that has been simplified to production just to make it clearly distinct from the Bachelor of Design, Performance Design stream, which the University of Melbourne also delivers. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the curriculum for the BFA, because this is changing for all of the 9 specialisations in 2021. So we'll move on to the next slide. So one of the great things about these collaborative creative courses is that the staff are always trying to keep the curriculum really relevant to what's going on in the industry around them. And what they'd noticed over the last year or so is that there was a real move towards some of these different type of transferable skills or soft skills that artists were being required to have once they moved from a study and out into their degree, out into their career, sorry. So things like collaboration, creativity, flexibility, leadership, these are all inherently part of what it is to be an artist. But what we've done is actually update the curriculum for the 2021 intake to reflect some of these opportunities. So if we move on to the next slide, what we've done is actually realign the intensive creative training curriculum to make space for our BFA students to also have breadth opportunities. So this is something that they haven't had up until this point. There've been some opportunities for elective, but not that breadth component where they're able to select subjects from right across the university. So this is something really exciting that is being brought in for 2021, and it's actually being brought in at all 3 levels. Students who are currently in first year, when they move into second year next year, will have the new curriculum delivered and will have opportunity to access some breadth. Similarly for the students who are currently in second year moving into third next year. And when we announced to the students this year, they were super excited and actually said, why couldn't we have had this earlier? This is great. So we're really excited for next year's intake to be able to have this as part of their degree for all 3 of the years. So one thing that the academic staff have done in this area is to really focus on the curriculum that was already being delivered to ensure that we do remain committed to the immersive practice-based study that is offered through each of these 9 disciplines. So the way that the courses are delivered is much more intensive than many other bachelor degrees. So the students could be on campus 4 or 5 days a week, up to 8 or 9 hours a day. And we didn't want to lose any of that intensive practice by bringing in breadth. So there's been a lot of really careful planning to ensure that, that this can be part of the curriculum for the students. It may be that they choose to pick up evening subjects or intensive summer and winter subjects to make sure it doesn't cross over with their core curriculum. But we've got study advisors there who can assist the students with this. If we move on to the next slide, these are some of the areas that the students are able to pick up their breadth studies in. So one of the great things for our students is that they can actually pick up breadth studies from other fine arts disciplines. So we may have a dancer who is interested in filmmaking, or we may have an actor who is interested in painting. So they'd be able to pick up other creative breadth subjects from within the South Bank campus and within the creative areas. Similarly, they could also pick up music breadth subjects if they're interested in that, or one of our range of Indigenous knowledges subjects. So we have a Willan Indigenous Centre down at the South Bank campus. This Indigenous Centre works with our Indigenous students on campus, but also works with all students and staff to deliver Indigenous courses and subjects. So this has been really popular with students who've come down from Parkville from the various degrees to pick up subjects in Indigenous creative arts. And this can be done as an intensive subject. So that photo that's on the side there was from some of our students last year who took a winter intensive and spent a week on campus, on country up near Shepparton. And they spent a week sewing possum skin cloaks and cooking Indigenous foods and learning Indigenous musics. It was a transformative experience for a lot of the students. So we're excited to be able to offer that to our fine arts students now as well. But then students could also choose to pick up subjects from many of the other degrees across the university. The one that we're quite excited about is a collaboration with the psychology area, where we're actually creating a new breadth subject that is about performance anxiety and resilience, and how performers can prepare themselves for the uncertainty that comes with being a performer. So I mean, the idea for that subject came up at the start of the year before we realized what 2020 was going to look like, but I think it's more relevant now than ever, really. So that's an exciting opportunity that will be available for students to pick up as a breadth subject. So we'll move on now and have a chat about the application process. So across all 3 of our music degrees and our 9 BFA degrees, this is generally what the process looks like for students. So it's a bit more in depth than many of the other courses where the students would add it to their VTAC preference list, then go and do their exams and wait for their ATAR and their English scores. So there's a few more steps, and we do find that sometimes applicants miss a step, so it's really helpful for them to know that there are other things they have to do after they've popped it onto VTAC. So all of our 12 different areas, they're all need to be applied for, added to the preference list by the 30th of September, with no extensions possible for any of those areas. So that's the most important date to note first. Previously, our film and television area finished earlier in August, so this has been extended and all of them are aligned now on that 30th of September. Now, the thing to note is that many of the supplementary application forms are also due on the 30th of September. And this year, that will include in many areas uploading an example of their work. So it may be that on the day that the VTAC application timely applications close, students will also have to upload a video audition or a folio of work. So I'm really conscious about making sure that message gets out to the students to know exactly what's due and when it's due, because there will be some tight timelines to some of these areas. So we might move on and talk about the specific different areas. So coming up first, we have music. So if students are interested in music performance and jazz and improvisation, they will need to, even though it's only one VTAC code, they would need to then submit 2 different supplementary application forms. Similarly, if they're interested in music performance, but they're interested in guitar and piano, which does happen, then they would need to submit 2 different supplementary application forms and upload 2 different video recordings. So for every instrument, for every specialization, they will need to do a separate application, even though it's just the one VTAC code. So the supplementary application form with the video recording is due on the 30th of November for this stream. There won't be any interviews or callbacks, so decisions will be based on that video recording that's uploaded. And all of the information about what's required in that is listed in detail on the website. But the basic story is that for a student doing an instrument, it's about 15 to 20 minutes showing 3 contrasting pieces of music, unless they're a voice student, and then 10 minutes is enough to cover those 3 contrasting pieces. We'll move on to the next slide. So for our other 2 Bachelor of Music areas, jazz and improvisation and interactive composition, it is also an upload of students' a video recording of them doing their work. So worth noting, it's not an audio recording, it is a video recording. And they need to perform, for jazz and improvisation, 2 pieces. So one of those pieces must be selected from a set list, which the students can find on the website. But the other one, it could be an original composition if they like, it could be from world music, or it could be another one from the set list. So they have a choice there to have a think about what they'd like to do. The interactive composition area, it's really important that the students upload their folio of 3 to 4 pieces of original work. So in this area, they really want to see what the students are capable of doing. So this could be audio recordings or audio-visual recordings. So this is a little different to the performance one. The students will also be asked to do a creative task. For interactive composition, this is often the most difficult part of the application because it's the one that they're not quite sure what to do. But essentially, they'll be given a problem and they need to come up with a sound solution for it. So it could be making a little soundtrack or a voiceover or some kind of accompanying sound to go with the problem that they're given. It will become clear once they have a look at the supplementary application form. But again, just make sure that the students do go on and have a bit of a read through, give themselves time to think through what's required. That will be due on the 30th of November. That was extended only just yesterday. It was previously the 16th of November. It's now been extended to the 30th of November. So we'll move on to the next slide. So the Bachelor of Fine Arts application information, we have 3 different courses in the film and television area. I haven't put up what's actually required for the application process because it hasn't changed from previous years. The only thing that's changed is the date, and it's super important for these film and television areas that the students do realise that once they put the course on VTAC, they'll get the link through to the supplementary application form where they'll need to complete a selection project. So this will be responding to a project that they're given. They have just the time from whenever they put it onto VTAC preference list until the 30th of September to complete that selection project and upload it. So the sooner the students put these courses on their VTAC preference list, the sooner they'll be able to get cracking on that selection project. So that's quite different to previous years where VTAC closed and then students had a couple of weeks to complete their project. So really important that they do give themselves some time to have a look at those selection projects for animation, film and TV, and screenwriting. All right, just a couple more courses to go through. Wendy, I'll go through as quick as I can. For acting and theatre, the staff have put in a lot of thought about how they're going to audition students this year because there will be no on-campus live auditions this year. So that decision was made just last week that none of the areas will have any face-to-face callbacks or interviews. Everything will be online. So what we've asked the students to do is to upload a video recording with their supplementary application form. So this is less pieces than they would have had to prepare for the live auditions in previous years. For acting, it's 3 contrasting monologues and they need to perform all of them to the camera. For theatre, it's 2 monologues, which can be the same as 2 of the acting ones if students are applying for both, but they also need to record themselves performing one of their own devised pieces of work. We'll move on to the next slide. Now, dance and music theatre, these are 2 areas where we're actually still working through exactly what the callback part of the application process will look like, because we want to make sure that if there is a dance assessment involved, that the applicants are safe to be dancing at home. So both dance and music theatre are still working through exactly what that callback looks like now that it is definitely going to be online. But in the first case, the students will have to upload a video recording. For music theatre, it's just their monologues and their singing. And for dance, there's some really clear instructions on a couple of techniques that students will need to record themselves doing to upload with their supplementary form. All right, move on. And the last 2 areas of the BFA. For production, this is quite a detailed, creative process for students for applicants to apply for this one. The students will have some time to work on their selection projects and upload that supplementary form. It's not due until the 16th of November. But again, I would recommend them not leaving it to the last minute. It is quite a project to be working on. It's not something that they could do on the last day or at the last minute. Based on that upload, students will then be invited to an online, or all students will be invited to an online interview, and then shortlisted applicants will be invited back for a callback. So it's quite a detailed process, but the information is all really clearly set out on the website for students to work through. Visual art, all 4 of the different streams, the folios need to be uploaded by the 30th of September, so the same day that VTAC applications close. We understand this is earlier than usual, and it is an upload rather than bringing along a folio. So it can be a little rougher than it has been in previous years, but we recommend students upload at least 20 pieces of work. Really critical that they include sketches and drafts as well, just so that the staff can get a sense of what they're capable of. Different to music, if the students are interested in more than one stream here, they only need to attend 1 interview, and the visual arts staff will collaborate between themselves to suggest which is the best stream for the applicant. All right, move on. So please get in touch. I did try and keep that as quick as possible, but there's so much to go through. We'll have all sorts of sessions available on open day. All of the sessions will have a live Q&A opportunities for students. And then we'll have our end of year performances in some kind of amazing virtual delivery as the year progresses.
Thanks very much, Cody. And still answering a couple of questions in there, but we had a really nice comment from someone about the performance, the virtual performance earlier. It wasn't the Ravello one, it was another one. But
Bolero.
Yeah, people have been seeing that. So I know it's a struggle, but yeah, people are really appreciating those little snippets. And there were some questions about getting the individual slides out, not just in the recording. So I'm sure Lois can follow up on that, and we're still answering some of those questions. But thank you very much, Cody.
No problem.
Now, Kieran, if we move on to our next slide. So I would now like to introduce you to Dr. Wendy Haslam. And whenever Wendy and I are in meetings, we're both Wendy H's, and gets very confusing. However, she has a lot more education than I do, particularly in this particular area. Her teaching is and research is the intersection of film history and new media in the Screen Studies program. Subjects that she coordinates includes film noir, history and sexuality, introduction to screen studies, censorship, film, art, media and exhibition, and film and art. So a breadth of different subjects there. So I will pass over to Wendy now.
Thanks, Wendy Holden. I'm just making sure that you can see me. I hope that you can and hear me. Thank you. Yes, I do continue to teach in Screen Studies. I'm also the Director of the Bachelor of Arts as well. So I'm really pleased to join you from my own home office And thanks for the work that you're doing with our prospective students, our current students, as well as the graduates that we've had. It's been really valuable. Acknowledging also that this must have been a difficult year for all of you as well. It's a wholly other year. So we begin with an image of our Arts West building, and that sits on Wurundjeri land, Eastern Kulin Nations. And I understand that this land has been a really significant place for the discussion and learning for generations. So we're really pleased to be able to continue in that vein and pay our respects to Indigenous elders past, present and emerging. So my aim is to tell you some things that you might not know about the Bachelor of Arts. I'm not sure if I can move forward. I think, Wendy, thank you. And then we're just past that welcome and yes, the snapshot. So you know that we offer 40 areas of study, that some of those are minors and most of those are majors. That we set students up to do well, hopefully throughout their studies, by asking them to do an Arts Foundation subject right at the very start of their studies, semester 1, week 1 they begin, and that they study within the faculty in their minors and majors and take electives within the faculty as well. And of course that they take those breadth subjects outside of the faculty, and that they can also add in a diploma of languages as well. So really, if they're adding in the diploma of languages, by the time they graduate with a little bit more than 3 years, sometimes up to 4 years, they will graduate students. Our students graduate with 2 degrees. So Tom and McKinnon is an example of a student that's graduated with those 2 degrees. Behind that though, things that you might not know are the ways that our research informs our teaching. And this, I think, is also what distinguishes our degree. So I wanted to give you a sense of some of the most recent research projects that are done by academics teaching with the BA. And they're very contemporary and they're very current, and they are very impactful as well. So some of our academics have been working on developing research to inform policy, and some of our academics have been involved in providing submissions to the Royal Commission into Disability and Aged Care. Some of our academics have research expertise in history of pandemics as well, and some of that research is informing ways that we are responding to that now and into the future. And we have a really fascinating and significant collaborative project between arts and colleagues in medicine, where we're working on strategies to communicate urgent health information in a range of languages for communities in northwest of Melbourne in particular. So our research really is often around policy. It's not just that, it's much more than that, around history and around communication as well. So just to give you a sense of the significance and the impact of our research, and to assure you that that research feeds into our teaching as well. And it's there that we see some of the value of our degree. We see it across the degree as well. Next slide, please. Fantastic. All right. Key messages are that Arts at Melbourne is defined by its flexibility in allowing students to build their degree within areas, discipline areas within the humanities, social sciences and languages. And our students graduate with deep and detailed disciplinary knowledge combined with collaborative leadership skills and the cultural competency that's really necessary for 21st century careers that we may not even have imagined for them. So our graduates distinguish themselves as having the ability to demonstrate their understanding of concepts and principles of selected areas of study within their core disciplines, and the ability to apply critical and analytical skills to the identification and resolution of those really wicked problems that we work with within the arts and complex changing social contents. So this is a degree that very much opens a range of possibilities for our students. This is a degree that allows our students to become part of a community of scholars, studying scholars. And this is a degree that connects theory with practice and a degree that also provides global opportunities for students. I think it's 37% of our students take up opportunities for exchange or study abroad in while they're studying, usually hopefully in their third year of studying as well. Shall we move forward, Wendy? Thank you. So I should mention that there are some new areas here as well. So in 2019, we began teaching Korean language for the first time. And in our first iteration of that subject, 800 students enrolled. So it was even more successful than we could have imagined. So we've been, since they're building the Korean Studies program, and in 2021 we'll have a new minor. We assume that we'll have a new minor pending approval. So we've been adding new subjects, creating this as a new minor and potentially in future a new major. And students not only have the ability to study language, but also study Korean cultural subjects. And there's one amazing study abroad subject offered to level 3 Korean students who are able to study abroad in Seoul. We're really happy about that. Another area that we've been building as well is making sure that there is diversity in the student cohort within the degree, and that's that's crucial for us, and it's crucial for students' learning experience as well. So we are in the process of building a direct pathway into the arts for graduates of the Diploma in General Studies at Duki. And we're suggesting that they would need a 75 WAM, which brings us, gives us the same kind of admission requirements to the School of Design as well. So we're really keen to welcome in new graduates, new students graduating from the diploma coming into the undergraduate arts degree. In 2022, we'll have a new discovery subject, and that will be a single subject that all art students will take in the first semester of their learning with us. It'll be an inquiry-based subject, and our idea around this is to give students a sense of connection to the degree. It gives students a sense of the scope of the research that defines our faculty, and allow for an even deeper connection between research and teaching for our students. It will allow students to see and hear and get insight to all of our research subjects, but it will also allow them to, and hopefully inspire them to, create their own projects themselves. It's also about connecting to one another. So there'll be seminar-based subjects, and where our students will work in small groups as well. This is also part of the Chancellery's Student Life Initiative. So that discovery subject you'll see arising in all other undergraduate degrees as well. Let's move forward, Wendy. I wanted to show you this profile of Michael Hester because Michael graduated in July with 2 majors. So his majors are in Politics and International Studies and in Economics, and he has a Diploma of Languages in Chinese. So he graduated in July and is now working in that really vital role with the Department of Jobs, Precincts and Regions with the state government. When I heard from Michael about this, and Michael used to run the Melbourne Arts Students Society, when I heard from him, I was reminded of what our Dean, Professor Russell Goulburn, said in an address to Michael's cohort, his graduating cohort. He says that the BA equips students with the knowledge, critical thinking skills, and the empathy, not just to make a living, but to shape how we live. So we see this in action, I think, with the amazing Michael Hester. Shall we move forward, Wendy? Thank you. This year, we're really pleased to have a guaranteed ATAR. This is a massive change for us, and we're thrilled and excited by this. That means guaranteed admission into the BA for students with an ATAR of 88 who select the Bachelor of Arts, obviously, as their first preference. We have also a minimum ATAR of 85 as well. So whilst that's that guarantee there, we still encourage all students to obviously preference the BA and to apply for the BA as well. And we'll certainly consider students who have in the general round, 85 or above as an ATAR. Let's move forward. Access Melbourne still is another pathway, and a really strong pathway for us for students coming in, and the Access Melbourne ATAR is 88 for us, from disadvantaged financial background, or whether students qualify for resident or of a rural or isolated area, 78 there, and our Indigenous Australian students are eligible for an offer to the BA with a 75 ATAR. So these are really important categories, and we welcome all applications from students in these categories, as well as in the guaranteed entry category and in the 85 as well. Let's move forward, Wendy. Thank you. Bachelor of Arts Extended, of course, is our really preeminent 4-year degree for our Indigenous students who may not have the ATAR required to come in. So the minimum ATAR there is 50. We look at all applications, so I encourage everyone to apply. We've reshaped that degree, that first year, and we have reshaped it to make sure that our Indigenous students coming in have an opportunity to spend the initial year studying with our renowned Indigenous scholars. So they get a real sense of connection, engagement, belonging to the degree and support as our students move through the 4-year BA. Let's go forward. Yes. So of course we all know that the domestic fee changes are in the ether. They're proposed, but they're not passed yet by the Senate. And we know that that will mean, if they pass, that students will have a higher student contribution to some of their subjects. So that will be some subjects in arts that will attract higher contributions by students. The idea, as you know, there is to produce job-ready graduates, and we would suggest that we do that in the BA. So this is something that we're really keeping our eye on, and that in the Bachelor of Arts and in the university, we're working through the implications of that and thinking about how we can support students who maybe even through scholarships, and not kind of deter them from enrolling in subjects within our BAs. So some subjects will attract CSP contribution, and some will attract less of that. So let's move forward. Now, our students do have an agile skill set. We know that that they work with us to really develop and increase their critical and analytical skills. We teach them skill sets for 21st century careers as well. We also teach them, and we want them to be working with independent self-reflection and to be confident enough to propose creative solutions. We want them to work well in groups, but also within leadership roles as well. Our ideal for them is that they accumulate a diverse range of knowledge from across the BA and then across the university as well. We know that they come to us with effective and excellent communication skills, and we work with them to improve those further as well. So let's move forward. What we know as well about our graduates is that they report that they enjoy their work, which is so important to us, and they believe it makes a positive contribution to the community, that there's a 91% employment rate following graduation, which is, a real success for us. Some do go and do honours. Don't forget that honours is a really important part of the BA, and an offer and CSP place offer for some students who are positioned to go there. And some go into further study, higher degrees as well, but certainly 91% is the employment rate that we see in our graduates. 24%, almost a quarter, hold leadership positions. You can see their average salary, and I'm really interested as well in those self-directed, self-motivated, self-employed 10% graduates who develop their own business. Let's go forward. Virtual Open Day Highlights is my last contribution to our discussion. So of course we have our panel on the future of work, which is obviously something that's in the forefront of our mind, and thinking about how arts students and arts alumni and arts academics see the future of work there. I mentioned Michael Hester was running the Mass Student Society. I will have that student society represented, as we know that prospective students are always listening to current students as well. It's really important. We have sessions on object-based learning, virtual sessions of course, and virtual connections to Latin American culture and languages as well. And we'll do all sorts of briefings from programs, but also from the BA as well. So please do come along on those open days, Saturday and Sunday, 5th and 6th of September, and we hope to see you there. Wendy, we can't quite hear you.
Of course you can't, because I'm on mute. I said that the phrase of the year is going to be "you're on mute." So thank you very much, Wendy, for that. And there were a couple of questions about the graduate outcomes from an arts degree, which you covered off in your slide anyway. But there is a misperception out there that arts degrees do not perhaps prepare people for the world of work. And I think when you look at our graduate outcome statistic, that is far from the truth. We have a lot of work integrated learning subjects now, a whole suite of them. And if you go to our website and type in work integrated learning, you will see all of the opportunities that students get within an arts degree. I know that consultancy firms, which may not always be a typical art student's destination, but they love arts graduates because they can write, they can speak, they can synthesize. And I know of many examples of students who have gone on to work for NGOs and some of the big consultancy firms just on that. So they are very well connected. We will be providing you with some more collateral materials, some short videos, some examples in the next careers update, so that you can really see the sorts of destinations that our arts graduates go to, those who both choose to go on to further grad study, but also those who come out with an arts degree, whether it's a bachelor's degree or an honours degree. We're very proud of the opportunities that they're able to get into. And I think you saw there from Wendy's comment there that the thing about our graduates, many of them are in leadership positions, and we would say that's what does define them and differentiate from perhaps some other preparation. So just a quick ad. Wendy gave a great call out to Open Day, and I know that Arts has a really packed program. All of our Open Day presentations will also include in-depth sessions on majors. And I know that that's the sort of really complicated questions that you get from your students who are so well prepared, that they want to know, that they don't just want to know about a degree, they want to know the nitty-gritty on the majors. So please encourage them to attend those sessions on majors as well as the straight course sessions. We have another session coming up in a week's time, the 27th of August, on the Faculty of Architecture, and a spotlight on architectural engineering, and a spotlight also on the ag and food industries, including an industry panel. And then the fourth session is on the 3rd of September. So we really appreciate, I'm sorry that some of you had a bit of an issue with the sound. We will be sending out this recording. So thank you very much for attending, and thank you all to our academics who also attended. If there are any questions we haven't answered yet, we'll get back to you individually. So we'll close off now and let you go back to your busy lives. Thank you.